So it's kind of hard to believe in some ways that we're already a year into the COVID-19 pandemic, and I know all of us are looking forward to life getting back to normal. Many Americans, unfortunately, found themselves in a pretty difficult circumstance financially in the midst of the pandemic, and the government kind of responded by putting in place these eviction and foreclosure moratoriums as a way to try to help Americans stay stabilized in their homes, particularly as we had our stay-at-home orders and all of these things taking place. But what a lot of people may not realize is that these eviction and foreclosure moratoriums are about to expire and be lifted. And so I'm here today with a friend and local attorney, Charles from Widerman Malek Law here in Celebration, to have a conversation about the options that exist for you to make sure that you're really prepared for what the future may hold coming forward. Now, Charles, I know of your vast experience. You and I have worked together for a number of years and have helped countless families across Central Florida avoid foreclosure and to make smart decisions both in the legal realm and in their real estate capacity. But maybe take a moment and just share a little bit with everyone about your background and what you bring to this conversation today.
Sure. Well, thank you for having me, Tim. I've been practicing law since 1992, and my focus is real estate planning, and I work primarily with property owners, homeowners, investors. And more than anything, I'm a problem solver. And what I'm looking ahead to now is the next phase of this economic crisis that we've been going through since the pandemic started. And Mark Twain said, history doesn't repeat, but it rhymes. And I feel that we're about to enter a new period of real estate correction on some level. It's been a hot market for several years. And we work together to serve many homeowners after the last market crash in 2008 and the depths of that great recession that followed when the bubble burst. What I expect to happen is there will be some kind of a correction and there will be some level of a crisis, but not anywhere approaching what happened the last time. So homeowners should be aware that if they haven't been paying the mortgage because of the benefits of some of these moratoria, forbearance plans, government-driven Freddie and Fannie driven programs that gave them relief during the economic crisis from COVID, that bill's going to come due. And we need to be ready to address the situation in terms of what now when the mortgage bill comes due and they're going to have to resume paying. And people need to understand their options and form a game plan before they're knee deep in responding. So be more proactive and take some preemptive action to make sure that they know where they're going and what they're going to do once this is all over.
Sure. So there's a couple key things maybe to grab in there and to highlight. Number one is we don't expect the real estate market to crash. We do expect there to be some type of balancing off or leveling off, and you used the word correction. But in the midst of that as well, there are a number of Americans, and in our case Floridians, that have been in some way maybe on borrowed time. They've been receiving stimulus checks, there's been a forbearance, there's been a moratorium on foreclosures, and so you've kind of been living in the space, or maybe someone you know has been kind of living in the space, and to your point, at some point they're going to have to deal with that reality. Part of our goal is to try to help people say, look, if you want to stay in your home, stay in your home. We want to help you accomplish that. You know, some people might think that because I'm a real estate broker that my only goal is to list your home and ultimately sell your home, when in fact that's not true. My goal really is to help you make the best decisions with all of your real estate, including your home. And if that best decision is for you to stay put and to not sell, then I would gladly help you accomplish that very thing. And the same is true for you, which is your goal is to come alongside of people and help them understand that they're navigating very complex legal documents with a mortgage, with a note, and with a list pendants being filed or impending foreclosure or even a forbearance that may be in place, and having somebody along your side that's actually a counselor to walk by you in that process is going to be really important. Charles, maybe what are some of the advice or guidance you would offer to people in that context?
Well, I think you touched upon the point of being proactive and getting ahead of the problem. During the last crisis, I literally represented hundreds of homeowners in this situation at all stages of foreclosure. I mean, I started counseling people before they missed a payment, when they knew they weren't going to be able to keep making the payments, all the way up to people who were weeks away from a court sale.
Right.
And the sooner you start working on the problem and addressing the issues and devising a game plan in that spectrum of time, the better off you're going to be. So you did make a great point about how working with a real estate broker or realtor to help them solve their problem doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to be pushing them into selling the home.
Right.
And I can tell you from experience, well over 90% of the clients I represented who found themselves in mortgage distress wanted to keep their home as their first priority. And some of them did successfully keep their homes. Many of them did. In fact, I helped navigate loan modifications and all kinds of workout plans with lenders, but many of them couldn't. So a good time to start thinking about what your financial situation is going to be or is now when you have to resume paying if you haven't been paying. Time to figure out, are you going to be able to keep the home because you could afford to pay the mortgage? If you have a loss of income where you change jobs or you're not making enough money or as much money as you did before, or you got into a lot of debt when you were not working for a while, right. And stimulus checks certainly help along the way, but they're not going to replace lost income. So if you're in a situation where your financial status isn't as strong as it was before, then it might not work. So we could certainly try to come up with a workout plan with the lender, negotiate a loan modification, but at the end of the day, the main difference between what's coming ahead now in the next year or so and what happened in the aftermath of 2008 is equity.
Right.
And that's freedom. Freedom, because back then it was a short sale market. Yep. You and I were helping homeowners negotiate short sales, which for those viewers who don't understand what that means is if your house isn't worth in the market value what is owed to the lender, then you go try to close a short sale where you sell the property for what it is worth and you get the lender to approve it and hopefully forgive that deficiency, the difference between what you owe and the market value.
Right, and the short sale is that you're selling it short of what you actually owe on it. That's what the short means. It's not a short amount of time, it's short of value or equity, which is not the case right now.
Well, yeah, and another good point is you need time because short sales are slow.
Right.
They're bureaucratic red tape nightmares of getting the lenders to approve it. And last time around, lenders and their servicing agents were not ready for the crisis, for that tsunami. I don't know how they're going to be prepared for what is coming next, but it's not going to be a short sale crisis because there's a lot of legitimate equity out there. It's not the overvalued, insane prices that we saw when there were no lending standards, right. And it was all reckless.
Yeah, and let me grab that. So number one, the fundamentals of the real estate market are strong right now, and they should be strong. I mean, everything is in a good place. Number two is you have equity in your home, which is a key distinguishing factor between where people were in 2008 and where people are now in 2021 as we sit today. And so part of our goal is to say, how do we help you protect and preserve that equity, your hard-earned net worth that has been built up in the value of your real estate? And when do you call an attorney and a real estate broker as two trusted advisors in that space to come alongside of you to help you protect what is probably one of your most valuable assets on the balance sheet, if you will, of your family's overall financial picture? One of the things that I know a lot of people get worried about is one is they think a real estate broker just wants to sell their home. Not true. That's not my goal. I want to help you. Number two is people get concerned that if I call an attorney, it's just going to be incredibly expensive. And what they don't know is your approach and your heart and your style of trying to come alongside of people to serve them first and help them, not just to make money off of them. Maybe touch on that.
Yeah, well, you know, lawyers get beaten up a lot in our society and sometimes for good cause. And I understand the fear of legal bills, and getting on the phone with an attorney, hiring an attorney is going to be a very expensive undertaking. The truth of the matter is I'll talk with anybody as a courtesy and ask a few questions, try to drill down and understand the problem and see if I can help as a starting point. Right. And even if I can't help or we're not a good fit, I promise I'll give anybody I talk with some good nuggets of advice and wish them well. But there's certainly no risk in calling and seeing if an attorney might be able to help solve that problem, because that is what I do. I am a problem solver, and I have a lot of experience going back to those Wild West days of 2009, 10, 11, 12, when it was a complete crisis and people were in all stages of distress, and we helped them get through it. And right now what I would hate to see is that loss of equity, because so many of us in our society have the majority of our wealth tied up in the equity of our homes. And if it doesn't make sense financially to keep that home and resume paying that mortgage, we should be having a conversation about selling the property, cashing in that equity, and using that to rebuild. But quite often it'll work to stay in that home, and if that solution can be found, we could help them achieve that.
Yeah. And so as we wrap up, let me just share, Charles has helped me. He's done estate planning for my family, for my parents. And so I say that to say I truly believe in the value that he brings, so much so that my own family works with him on a number of things. So if you're sitting there today and you find yourself in a situation where you're concerned about your financial future and your ability to maintain your position in your current home, or you have a family member, a friend, a coworker, or even a neighbor, someone that you know or care about, I would submit to you the best advice you can give them is to start making calls and decisions today. And of course, it would be our honor and pleasure to come alongside of you or anyone you know to help serve and to help advise and to help protect that equity and that position that you have in your current property. Charles, thank you as always. I know we can't cover everything in a short conversation like this, but I appreciate your willingness to be here today to share some valuable information and make yourself available. Obviously, if you're looking for an attorney, whether it's in real estate or dealing with forbearance or foreclosure or even estate planning, Charles is the person to call. His office is in Celebration, Florida. He'd be happy to speak with you. And then, of course, as always, myself and my team are here to serve you and to help you make the best decisions with your real estate assets. Until next time, stay well, and thank you for watching.